RRF Caserta.
South Italy in English language.
Welcome back to the deep dive. It is Thursday, January 29th, 2026. We have a stack of sources today that, I gotta be honest, it feels like someone took a bunch of different puzzles and just jammed the pieces together into one box.
That's a good way to put it.
We've been combing through deep analysis from the Italian papers Avvenire and Il Mattino from mid-January, and the picture they paint is, well, it's disjointed.
Disjointed is a very polite way to put it. I'd say it's a bit of a fever dream.
It really is. I mean, look at the spread we have on the table. We have this nationwide obsession with Japanese cartoons.
Right.
That has somehow become a matter of national security policy.
Yeah.
We have a Nobel Prize maybe finding its way into Donald Trump's hands via a Venezuelan opposition leader. And then you zoom in on Italy and you have pharmacists in the South outperforming the entire car industry.
It sounds like a random word salad when you list it like that.
It does.
But our job here is to find the signal in the noise. And if you look closely, there is a very strong signal. We're looking at a specific moment here in early 2026 where soft power, so culture, food, aesthetics, is traveling effortlessly across borders.
Right.
While hard power security laws, police, borders, is clamping down tighter than ever.
So on one hand, we are watching anime and eating pizza, and on the other hand...
We're building fortresses.
Exactly. And right in the middle of that tension, you have the Italian South, the Mezzogiorno, pulling off this economic surprise that just challenges everything we thought we knew.
It really does.
And we will get to that southern surprise and the pizza news, obviously, in a bit.
Yeah.
But I want to start with the soft power side. I was reading the Gutenberg insert from Avvenire, and it describes this phenomenon called nippomania.
Nippomania.
It feels like Italy has collectively decided to mentally relocate to Tokyo. Is this just a fad? Is it just kids watching cartoons?
It's definitely deeper than a fad. The article defines it as a blend of pop culture and memory. And that's key phrase.
Pop culture and memory.
Yeah. It's not just consuming media. It's about a multi-generational thing.
Right.
You have adults who grew up on, Goldrake and Captain Tsubasa.
Right.
And they're now raising kids on One Piece and Demon Slayer as a shared cultural language. But what makes this deep dive worthy isn't the cartoons. It's how the political class is, weaponizing this affection.
Weaponizing feels like a strong word for manga.
In a diplomatic sense, it's pretty accurate. I mean, look at the details from Premier Giorgia Meloni's visit to Tokyo.
Okay.
This wasn't just a dry trade mission about tariffs. She was there to sign a special strategic partnership. But look at how it was sold to the public.
I saw the photo description. She posted a picture with Sanaya Takechi, and the caption said it was in manga style.
Exactly. And she accepted the expo mascot as a formal diplomatic gift. This is cool Japan strategy meeting Italian political pragmatism. When you have a voting base that is already culturally obsessed with Japan, it greases the wheels for these high-level military and economic alliances. You aren't signing a treaty with a foreign power. You're signing a treaty with the country that gave you your childhood heroes.
It's soft power paving the way for hard power. It's brilliant, really.
Precisely. But here's the pivot point, and it's a sharp one. While we are celebrating this frictionless travel of culture, the reporting on the movement of actual people is moving in the exact opposite direction.
Okay, this brings us to the security package, the Pacchetto Sicurezza. The tone in the Avvenire articles just shifts dramatically here.
It does. It goes from colorful pop culture to something much darker.
So what's in it? Because usually security bills are just standard politics.
Well, the sources quote jurists, legal scholars, and they're raising alarms. They argue that these new measures are, and I'm quoting here, outside the track traced by the Constitution.
Wow, outside the track of the Constitution. That is a heavy accusation. What exactly are they flagging?
So there are a few pillars. First, the bans on NGO ships entering Italian waters, which, we've seen building for years.
Right.
Then you have measures to make expulsions easier. But the one that has legal experts really losing sleep is this new detention period.
The 12-hour rule.
Yes. The new law allows for a 12-hour detention of suspicious persons.
Wait, 12 hours?
12 hours.
Before a formal charge is even filed or a judge is involved.
Exactly. And your first question should be, what does suspicious mean?
That's it. It feels incredibly subjective.
And that's the core of the critique. In a democracy, you usually need probable cause to deprive someone of their liberty. If you let law enforcement hold anyone they deem suspicious for half a day without judicial oversight, you open a door to arbitrary enforcement that is very hard to close.
And the optics of this seem entirely focused on one thing: the sea, the boats, the landings.
It is the Fortress Europe aesthetic. All the political capital is spent on stopping that visible arrival of migrants on the coast. But, and this is the absolute key insight from this week's stack, that focus might be completely missing the reality of how illegal immigration actually works in 2026.
You're talking about the study from the EUI in Florence.
Yes. This data completely flips the script. We see the boats on the news every night. It's dramatic, it's visible. But the EUI estimates there are currently 450,000 overstayers in the EU.
450,000, that is a massive number. And these are not people landing on Lampedusa.
No. And this is what so many people don't realize. These are people who arrived comfortably. They flew into an airport, they walked up to a border agent, presented a valid tourist visa, smiled, got their passport stamp, and walked out.
They entered legally.
100% legally. And then when their 90-day visa expired, they didn't leave. They're mostly from South America and Asia. They integrate, find under-the-table work, and become part of this silent economy.
So that highlights this huge paradox. We're passing constitutionally questionable laws to stop people on boats, while 500,000 people are just walking through the front door and disappearing.
It shows that migration is like water. If you block one stream, it finds another path. And it suggests that the security laws are often more about political theater, addressing the scary image of the boat, than the bureaucratic reality of an airport visa.
Speaking of political theater, we have to touch on the Venezuela mentions, because the reasons people are leaving, they're just getting so desperate.
It's heartbreaking. You have Bishop Jose Antonio de Conchical Ferreira in the sources, and he's basically pleading with the world. He's saying, stop with the vague political promises. His people aren't asking for ideology, they're asking for food and medicine.
And then in the middle of that desperation, you get this headline that I had to read 3 times. Machado delivered a Nobel Prize to Trump.
It is a headline that it defines the surreal nature of 2026 politics.
Okay, so just to be clear for you listening, Donald Trump did not actually win the Nobel Peace Prize.
No. The headline refers to Maria Corina Machado, the Venezuelan opposition leader. The framing is that she delivered the honor or the recognition of a Nobel-worthy act to Trump because he, in her view, defended freedom in Venezuela.
It's a symbolic gesture.
Very heavy symbolic gesture. And while this high-level political gesturing is happening, the sources also mention Haiti. And the reality on the ground there is terrifying.
Yeah, that detail was chilling. The podcast, The Island That Isn't There, was referenced specifically the phrase,
Children who shoot.
Children who shoot.
It just stops you cold. It reminds us that while we analyze soft power and visa data, the human reality involves children being drawn into extreme violence. That's the pressure cooker.
So we have a world that is culturally connecting via anime, but physically hardening its borders. Now, I want to pivot to the domestic side, because usually the assumption is that the South, the Mezzogiorno, is the economic drag.
And that's where the stack just throws us a massive curveball, the Southern surprise.
Il Mattino ran this headline, "Growth. The surprise comes from the Mezzogiorno." And usually that means, what, a good year for tomatoes?
Right, or a record year for tourism in Pompeii. But this isn't that. This isn't agriculture, and it isn't just tourism. The driver of this growth is high-tech manufacturing.
Okay.
Specifically, pharmaceuticals.
This stat blew my mind. The export value of the pharma industry in the South is now double that of the automotive industry.
Double. Just think about what that means for the Italian identity. For 70 years, Italy was cars, Fiat, the industrial North. Now, the factories in Naples and Caserta are pumping out vaccines and biotech at a rate that completely eclipses the car sector.
That is a huge shift in economic complexity. You aren't just bending metal anymore.
Exactly. It implies a workforce transition we haven't really acknowledged. And it's not just pills. The sources mentioned the golden jewelry district in Napoli Caserta is booming. And get this, Campania is now ranking 3rd in Europe for luxury home searches.
Wait, 3rd in all of Europe?
That's the data. I assume behind places like the French Riviera, maybe Tuscany. But if you are a global investor looking for a high-end luxury villa, the data says you are looking in Campania.
So the secret is out.
The secret is out. But, and as the analyst here, I have to pour a little cold water on this party.
Uh-oh.
We have to look at who is actually benefiting. Because Avenir provided a really serious reality check on inflation.
Right. They cited that IMPS study. Defending salaries from inflation is a lost battle.
A lost battle.
Yeah.
That's a grim assessment. Purchasing power has dropped significantly over the last 10 years. So you have this macroeconomic boom. Pharma exports are sky high. Luxury real estate is booming. But the average worker is seeing their paycheck buy less milk, less bread.
So we're seeing a classic K-shaped recovery. The top end is rocketing up. The average person is sliding down.
Exactly. And you see that disconnect in the infrastructure, too. The sources point out that while we're exporting millions in high-tech medicine, the internet coverage in Campania is still struggling to hit its 90% target.
That's the paradox right there. You can manufacture a cutting-edge vaccine in Naples, but you might not be able to get a stable Zoom call to sell it.
It's the friction of rapid development. The private sector is just moving faster than the public sector can keep up.
Well, if the internet goes down, I guess you can just go get a pizza.
There you go.
Which brings us to the lighter side of the stack. Although in Italy, food is never really light news, is it?
No, it's serious business. World Pizza Day, January 17th. A sacred observance.
The sources mention Enzo Coccia's project, Metti il Disco, which is great. But the stat that really warmed my heart was about the margarita.
It's about consistency, right?
In a world of chaos, Trump headlines, constitutional crises, the data shows that despite all the gourmet toppings, the foams,
Pineapple.
we do not speak of the pineapple on this show, but despite all that, the traditional margarita is still the #1 most requested pizza.
It's comforting. It suggests that while the economy changes, the cultural core remains stable. And speaking of the core of the community, we have to talk about Ciro.
The Barber of Portici. This is the palate cleanser I needed after reading about detention centers.
It's a beautiful story. Ciro is a barber who has started a program to teach autistic children how to cut hair.
It's such a simple, tangible thing.
It is.
Yeah.
But think about it in the context of what we just discussed. We talked about exclusion security packages, detention, borders.
Right.
Ciro's doing the exact opposite. He's taking kids who are often marginalized and giving them a trade, a skill, a space. It's social integration in its purest form.
It's the Southern surprise on a human level. But because 2026 won't let us relax, we do have to mention the health warnings.
The influenza K.
It sounds like a bad sci-fi movie title.
It feels like one. Experts Bassetti and Pregliasco are warning about this strain. It's not, lethal like a pandemic, but it is incredibly persistent. They're seeing cough and cold symptoms lasting up to 20 days.
20 days. That's 3 weeks of coughing. You catch it on New Year's and you're still sick on World Pizza Day.
It's a huge drag on productivity and just miserable. But to balance the scales, the sources also point out that 2026 is bringing some serious heavy hitters in medical tech.
Yes. The stack lists upcoming cures for pancreatic cancer, new treatments for cholesterol, and progress on HIV, all aided by AI.
That's the duality of living in the future.
Right.
AI can help cure pancreatic cancer, but it can't cure the common cold. We're still at the mercy of the virus.
Not yet, anyway. But if you want to avoid the doctors altogether, there is always the Garatini diet.
Professor Garatini. The man is 97 years old, and his advice made headlines.
Let me guess. Eat sparingly.
He is incredibly strict. No butter, olive oil only, no red meat, and the one that hurts,
Yeah.
no wine.
No wine. He's Italian.
He claims it's the secret to his longevity.
I feel like that raises a philosophical question. Do you want to live to 100 if you can't have a glass of Chianti?
He has made his choice. He views health as a subscription you have to pay for every day.
Speaking of subscriptions, we need to touch on the darker side of the local news. The Pizzotto is back.
It never really went away. For listeners who don't know, Pizzotto is slang for illegal pay TV streaming. It's now migrated to TikTok.
Scammers on TikTok selling illegal streams.
Yes. They promise access to all the pay channels for a fraction of the price, and then thousands of people are getting fined. It's a game of cat and mouse.
And it's not just digital crime. There was a mention of the Battery Napoletana.
Which sounds like a musical group, but it's a specialized gang arrested for robbing VIP villas in Fergine.
So let's look at the full picture of this Southern surprise. We have world-class pharma exports, a booming luxury real estate market, and a high-end villa robbery gang.
It's a complete ecosystem. High-value creation and high-value extraction.
Okay, let's zoom out. We've covered a massive amount of ground. From Tokyo to Naples, from Nobel Prizes to 20-day flus. When you look at the stack as a whole, what's the through line?
I think the defining theme is the contradiction of access.
Access. How so?
We'll look at the different layers. On the cultural layer, access is total. Japanese culture flows into Italy effortlessly. On the economic layer, access is growing. Southern Italy is accessing global markets. Science is accessing new cures via AI.
But on the human layer,
Access is shutting down. The security package is about denying access, hardening the border. The 12-hour detention is about restricting personal liberty.
so we want the goods, we want the culture, we want the money, but we don't want the people.
That is the tension. And the data on the overstayers, the 450,000 people who flew in, proves you can't easily separate them. People flow just like capital does. You can build a wall at the beach, but they will walk through the airport gate.
And regarding the South specifically,
That is the most interesting piece to watch. The South is rising economically. It's becoming a richer region. Usually when places get rich, they get more protective. They build gates. They hire security.
so the question is, will this new South become a fortress protecting its luxury villas and pharma factories? Or will it be like Ciro the Barber, using its resources to integrate and build community?
That is the question that will define the next decade for the Mediterranean.
And in the meantime, check your subscriptions. Whether it's your illegal streaming service that might get you fined, or your subscription to the Garatini lifestyle of no wine and no butter.
Everything has a cost. You just have to decide what you're willing to pay.
Indeed. Something to think about while you wait for that cough to go away. Thanks for diving in with us.
Until next time.
See you in the next Deep Dive.
RRF Caserta. South Italy in English language.